Okay, so I am Zakiya Conley, and I'm working with Maxwell 5 to get Baby Learn's voices heard and interview you guys for our website. So what's your name?
My name is Angelique Thomas.
Okay. What do you do?
I'm a 9163 transit operator for San Francisco Muni.
Okay. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started with Baby Learns.
I'm a mother of two. I started with Baby Learns maybe when I was about 13 in the Bayview community. A bunch of my family members, friends, was in the program, so it was kind of like a summer thing. We kind of just went over there and had fun throughout the summer. That's how it started.
Um, so at what point of your experience did you feel that your work helped with the community the most?
I think the most it helped was starting a Bayview Youth Center and Clinic. Based on, it was already after the busing, after we didn't have any local services that provided anything sexual health related in the community. We only had one clinic that was Southeast Health Center. And at that time we were youth, so we was probably about 14, 15. So we had nowhere to get sexual health education, and a lot of us was scared to go into there to find out anything. They didn't really have wellness centers yet in high schools. So they were looking to do some, I guess you can call it, upgrading. So they was kind of looking for youth voices to figure out what it is that the youth wanted. But when we went, it was nothing but a bunch of like older people, like seniors and older people in the community at the time, pretty much explaining what it is that youth wanted. So we were maybe about a group of then maybe like 30, and we all had the same concerns after a focus group. So we started attending those meetings and then informing them that it would be more helpful if we had any kind of sort of sexual education, healthy food, and I think it was more impactful when the neighborhood seen their own kind walking around. You know, our peers seen us walking around. We were kind of like taking pictures of the bus stop ads. It was doing nothing but promoting like alcohol. So then they had ads that was African Americans smoking cigarettes, drinking liquor, nothing pertaining to like healthy food, nothing to sexual health. So we did various different things. So then we kind of caught attention of a lot of people, but I think that was the most impactful because it was a safe zone. It wasn't just a clinic. It also was like they had workshops, programs, and it was a no parent allowed zone.
Right.
So
Kids could just go in there.
Kids only. So even if you came with your parent, they had to wait in the car. So they never knew what happened in your visit, not unless you disclosed that with them. So I think it made it safe for everybody to kind of come in there.
Right.
Even during that time when there was a lot of violence beginning to happen amongst our peers, we kind of made that like a neutral zone. And we picked that location because it was one of the most known liquor stores that have a lot of violence before our time.
How would you feel like the clinic contributed to your life?
It contributed a lot. It put me in work experience. I mean, after that, I went into the medical field. I knew a lot going into the medical field because it was a startup. I ended up knowing a lot of important people. Now then they were just physicians, but like Ayanna Bennett, Mark Galley was my pediatrician, was my daughter's pediatrician. Ayanna was my pediatrician. Going into meetings at UCSF, still building healthy relationship with people.
Yeah, that's really good. It sounds like you guys built a large community around this clinic, and it helped a lot of you guys. So where were some barriers you and the collective team faced during this time?
I think more so just like the backlash of our own community, not supporting it at first. And I think it was just more the lack of understanding. So we had to learn to like basically give them the statistics on what it was looking like just on childhood, adolescence, just on like teen pregnancy rates, so stuff like that. But I mean, once we kind of it felt like you was almost being disrespectful because you arguing with somebody, either your parents' age or your grandmother, but y'all really like going back and forth, and she's kind of telling you what you don't need, and you feeling like, lady, your time's almost up.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Yeah.
so I think more so the backlash of the community.
At one point of your experience, do you feel like that your work helped the community the most?
Once I was able to move forward in my life and still see that it was still there,
Right.
and then knowing a lot of people who was just talking about it by word of mouth, and knowing like, oh, they are still using the services, it's still in the community, you know.
Yeah. Back when Bayview Learns was starting, compared to now, what has changed in Bayview and what has stayed the same?
I'll say that there's not a lot of, it's not youth led in Bayview no more. When Bayview Learns was there, it was youth led.
Yeah.
So we was partnered up with a bunch of other youth organizations. What was it? Brothers Against Guns, Girls 2000, Baby Foundation. So it was more of a youth-led community.
Yeah. And what do you feel like stayed the same?
It isn't the same. I mean, I don't live there no more, but I know when I go, it isn't the same. Nothing about it's the same. I mean, and that's just me coming in. I mean, I don't see parks. I don't really see the healthy food no more like it was, the healthy produce. But I think with my experience here from Bayview Learns, even from then, I mean, we became a family. We became a family.
Right. Looking back, is there anything you would do differently?
I think fight a little harder for the clinic.
Right. Since you're saying you would fight a little harder for the clinic, can you explain more about that? Like, what would you do? How would you go about it, or anything like that?
When I say fight harder for it, it's more so we had made this vision, and even as it flourished, I mean, we were young. It was probably like 14, 15. So, I mean, once it was up and running and feeling like it was accomplished, it wasn't like we raised it. It was just like we birthed it almost. So it was like once it was birthed, we didn't really, I mean, I stayed a while after. I stayed a lot of years after involved in it. But then as I did become an adult and have kids and moved away, I kind of like just put it behind me.
Yeah.
So then that's when I started noticing like the change in the clinic itself. Some of the services and just the atmosphere. So it was so that I would have fought a little harder.
Yeah.
To help, like now how you have state students, I mean, it would have been a career pathway for kids coming out of medical school to be able to get that experience, to be able to get one-on-one lessons with a little bit of everything that's going on from a pediatrician standpoint.
I think the community would be more connected to if that clinic stayed or if it was just up and running like it used to be.
And I think it would have helped a lot with the impact of, even like with COVID, being the fact when they made it that you didn't need your parents' consent to be able to get a vaccine at 12. I mean, if you didn't know, you could have just went to the clinic. You know what I mean? Wouldn't have been too much to talk about.
Yeah.
And then just being questioning, you know, especially as times has changed, just having that sexual health education.
Yeah.
But kids look at social media and believe everything now. So we didn't have social media.
Yeah, so that made a huge difference.
Yeah, we didn't have social media.
Yeah.
So we really had to crack open the books or have to know somebody that knew something or knew where to go find it. So the providers there were really open to educating you about it. Your visits didn't seem rushed. They almost seemed like a family member. And you felt like what you're saying to that doctor is staying there. They was building relationships.
Yeah.
So.
How has being a part of Bayview Learns impacted you as an adult?
Being a part of Bayview Learns molded me as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't more so of an impact. It was in me. So, I mean, like I said, that's my family.
Yeah.
We was kids. Those my cousins. We check on each other. A relative passed from them. We cry the same way. We was going to each other's houses. We went to your house.
Yeah.
Video games at your house. When you was a kid, I mean, we were a family, you know?
Yeah.
It showed us just a different way of living, even amongst each other, because everybody was from somewhere different. So we knew to take care of one another. At the end of the day, we took care of one another, and we still doing that today.
Yeah. Now, as Max 415, what can we do in the future to keep the Bayview Lunch story and spirit alive?
Take care of one another. Check on one another. Check on each other.
Yeah.
Build relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Be nice to each other. Be patient.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody got something different going on. And I mean, we didn't know better then. I mean, of course, we fought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we never got kicked out.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it year after year until we was tired of doing it. And the adults there were patient with us.
Yeah.
They understood everybody's story was different, even though we were kids. And times were different. So I have to say, we be patient with one another, check on each other, and keep fighting.
Yeah.
Fighting for what you believe in, you know? And don't, you know, it may be a phone call, it may be a text message, but sometimes you got to just go get in their face with what you know?
Yeah.
Because they don't have a lot of information. And I feel like small startup groups like this, you do all the hard work, and then you feel like when they come and sit down and meet with you, you feel important. You feel even more inspired. But then you go gather more work to turn around and, you know what I mean, be ready to give it to them. But then again, when it's all up there, it's like, what happened to me? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you, Angie, for joining us today. One of our goals at Max 415 this summer is to showcase the accomplishments of the past programs like Bayview Learns through our website. By doing this, we hope to inspire more youth, keep the history alive, and recognize all the work you all did in Bayview.
Thank you.
Thank you.